All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about something that shapes so many of us in ways we don't even realize. What happens when you had to grow up way too fast? And look, this isn't just about digging up the past. It's about understanding who you are today, right now, and starting that journey to heal and finally claim the life you really deserve. You know that moment? Someone asks a totally innocent question, like, "So, what was your childhood like?" And you just freeze. It's not necessarily because it was awful or because you have no memories. It's this weird feeling of a blank space, like a chapter of your own book is missing. If you get that, then you're exactly where you need to be. That's our starting point. Because, you see, for so many of us, childhood didn't just end one day with some big dramatic event. It was quieter than that. It was more of a slow fade, a gradual pileup of responsibilities that were never supposed to be ours. It was all those quiet moments where we learned, okay, I have to be the adult in the room if we're going to be okay. And maybe some of these are ringing a bell for you. Things like being 9 years old and making dinner for your younger siblings. Or becoming the emotional translator, trying to mediate your parents' fights. And that one, learning how to read the tension in a room long before you even learned how to read a chapter book. That's a skill you learn when you have to. You know, there's actually a clinical name for this whole experience. It's called parentification. It's basically when a child is put in a position where they have to take on adult roles, either practically, like running the household, or emotionally, like being a parent's confidant. But let's be real, that word, it doesn't even begin to capture the sheer weight of being a little kid trying to hold up a grown-up world, does it? In this is so important. I bet people told you all the time, wow, you're so mature for your age. But what researchers like Dr. Lisa M. Hooper have found is that it's not actually maturity. It's a survival adaptation. Think about that. It wasn't a personality trait you chose. It was a skill your young brain had to develop just to cope. And that adaptation has a really long-lasting impact. Because what happened is that your entire nervous system got hardwired to believe that crisis mode is, well, normal. That feeling of high alert, of always scanning the horizon for the next problem, that became your default setting. It helps explain why, even today, you might have this baseline hum of anxiety that you just can't shake. That program is still running in the background. But here's the thing about those survival adaptations. They don't just go away. As we grow into adults, they often morph into what look like incredible strengths. We can even think of them as our survival superpowers. In fact, they're probably the very skills that have made you so successful. So let's connect the dots here, because every superpower comes with a price tag. That incredible ability to read everyone's emotions, the flip side is feeling responsible for keeping everyone happy. Being that person who can solve any problem thrown at them, yeah, that often comes with a total inability to ask for help yourself. And anticipating everyone else's needs before they even ask, that almost always means you neglect your own, right up to the point of complete and total burnout. So let's talk a little more about that adult price tag. Because these patterns, these superpowers, they start to quietly sabotage our adult lives. They especially mess with our ability to trust, to build secure relationships, and to ever feel genuinely rested, even when we're successful in our careers. Okay, does this sound at all familiar? You look at your relationship history and you're consistently drawn to partners who are, well, a bit of a project. People who need your help, your guidance, your stability. It might feel like you're just a caring person, but through a trauma-informed lens, it's often a reenactment of the role you learned first. And here's the why behind it. For you, being needed was the closest thing you ever got to feeling loved and secure. Your value was directly tied to how useful you were. So now, as an adult, your subconscious is always on the lookout for that same dynamic. It creates this anxious attachment style where you overfunction to earn your spot in a relationship. It feels like love because, honestly, it's the only template you were ever given. And this stuff shows up in really specific ways, like choosing emotionally unavailable partners, because someone who is healthy and present and doesn't need you to fix them, that feels weirdly unfamiliar, maybe even a little threatening. Or having this deep-seated need to control your work and home life, because when you were a kid, unpredictability meant danger. People might call you a perfectionist, but what it really is a fear of what might happen if you let your guard down for 1 second. And true intimacy, man, that can feel terrifyingly exposed, because being vulnerable was a luxury you just couldn't afford back then. And oh my gosh, can we talk about the exhaustion, that soul-deep, bone-deep tiredness that no amount of sleep seems to fix? Think about the super successful professional who gets promotion after promotion, but lives with this quiet, constant weariness that no vacation can cure. That is not laziness. It is not weakness. It is the physical, cumulative toll of a nervous system that has been running on overdrive for decades. Which leads us to what I call the achievement paradox. On the outside, everything looks great. You're a high achiever. People see you as the reliable one, the one who is low maintenance but gets everything done. But inside, there's this relentless voice saying it's never enough, and this core belief that your worth is completely tied to your usefulness. That, right there, is a direct line to burnout, because your external success is actually hiding how empty your internal tank is. So, what on earth do we do with all this? Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Where do you even start to heal from something that's so deeply woven into who you are? Well, the first step is actually the one we tend to fight the most. It begins with grieving. You have to let yourself grieve the childhood you deserved but never actually got to have. The one where you got to be messy and make mistakes and just be a kid. Acknowledging that loss isn't being dramatic or ungrateful. It's just being honest. You could even start with a simple journal prompt tonight. What's one thing my inner child desperately needed that I can give myself today? Now, the path forward isn't some big mystery. It really does have steps. So after you allow yourself to grieve, the real work begins, actively untangling your self-worth from what you do for other people. And then, this might be the hardest part of all, you have to let yourself become a total beginner at being taken care of, a beginner at asking for help, a beginner at letting someone else carry the weight for a while. This is all about teaching your body that it's safe to not be in control. And this is the message right here that you have to let sink into your bones. Your value is not transactional. It doesn't depend on your to-do list or how many problems you solve or how well you manage everyone else's emotions. Your value is inherent. You are a human being, not a human doing. And simply being, that is and always was more than enough. All of this leads us to the final and maybe most crucial piece of this whole journey. It's about finally giving that hyper-vigilant, hyper-responsible part of you, that little kid who had to grow up way too fast, permission to finally truly rest. And I don't just mean sleep. I mean deep nervous system level rest. I really want you to take a moment and just speak directly to that younger version of yourself. Acknowledge them. That child did an absolutely incredible job. They were so strong and so brave and so smart, and they kept you safe. And you can tell them, your shift is over. You don't have to be on watch anymore. You can rest now. And you can start building new patterns of safety starting today. Real self-care for someone who is a caretaker isn't about bubble baths. It's an act of deep reprogramming. It's literally scheduling 10 minutes of doing nothing in your calendar. It's practicing saying no to one small request this week. It's letting a friend treat you to coffee and not feeling like you immediately owe them. These little acts, they teach your nervous system bit by bit that it's safe to be messy. It's safe to receive. It's safe to let someone else take a turn. So I just want to leave you with this one question to sit with. You have been holding on so tight for so long, holding it all together for everyone. Just for a second, imagine it. What would it actually feel like to finally let go?